My name is Gabrielle Evans. I'm 32 years old. I had to just remember that was my birthday last week. And I run a garden design and maintenance company. We operate sort of throughout London and the UK. I started to think about running my own business around 24, I think, but I would have thought I always knew that I wanted to do my own thing. My whole family run their own businesses in some way or another, or they work as freelancers. My mum had an interior design business throughout sort of the 1970s, 1980s, and she immigrated from the US when she was 17 years old, from New York. So she came here without knowing anyone or without any kind of experience, and she was lucky enough to kind of build this sort of career for herself in the UK. So she has quite an entrepreneurial spirit, and I think that sort of trickled down to all of us. And my dad as well, he also had a film production company. And my sister is also a garden designer, so we work together occasionally on projects. My brother also has his own film production company, and my other brother has his own property company, so we've all kind of been probably quite influenced by my mum. I don't know if it makes a difference, but perhaps when you have come from a country and you come to a new place without any lead, she had to be quite sort of entrepreneurial in her approach. I went to university when I was 20 for 3 years. I went to university in the UK and in Sweden to study resistant materials, which is wood and metal craft. So that was quite intrinsic in my path to where I am now, and especially having that experience being abroad, I think was really important for my personal development. So I got made redundant from my job as a CAD technician for at the time I was working for an interiors company, and I was unemployed for about a year, and then I got a part-time job working at a plant nursery. And then I started to do some freelance CAD work for a variety of different sort of property developers and interior designers and stuff like that. And then I got a freelance CAD job for a landscape architect. So I started to do some landscaping CAD work, and then computer-aided design. And meanwhile, I was gaining all of this plant knowledge from working part-time at Petersham Nurseries on minimum wage. So it was quite a big difference in earning that I'd had previous to that. Then I started to just flyer. So I really just went out there, got some flyers made, and just started to flyer West London like there was no tomorrow for garden maintenance services, because I was quite desperate at that point to make ends meet, because I had, living in London is expensive. So I really just started to go out there, to the point where, I was getting jobs quite quickly, and I had to really step up my knowledge. So it was a real steep learning curve for me, but it kind of sort of catapulted me into like progressing quite quickly, I think. Around the same time, I went to the Prince's Trust for some financial help. I needed to buy some equipment and some tools just to start off. And I also just wanted to take a step back from what I was doing to look at the business plan and really sort of put that time aside to building a very realistic business plan for the next sort of 3 years, because really was quite keen on this idea. And so that time was really valuable, as well as obviously the finance as well. I mean, I was sort of given a small loan eventually to kind of help me go. It wasn't much, it was about £1,500, something like that. Princess Trust were great actually. I went on the enterprise programme, which was a week-long programme where we went through our business plan. We looked at things like tax and VAT. We met with other entrepreneurs and just talked about businesses, and that was quite an inspirational time as well, because you can sometimes feel quite isolated when you're starting your own business, because it really comes off the back of that individual, I think, wanting to succeed, but that can be quite a lonely process. So that was really great at that stage when you're really sort of plugging away, trying to start the business, to have a bit of sort of group camaraderie around you. And then the Prince's Trust provided me with a mentor, which I still have to this day. So I started out just on my own with this sort of garden maintenance business. So it's really just initially just doing sort of maintenance, mowing and kind of all of this kind of thing, mowing lawns and a bit of planting, and really just with a ladder and a car. There's absolutely nothing glamorous about what I was doing or what I still do today. Eventually the diary started to get quite busy. I took on first someone part-time, and now I have a full-time team, 2 full-time members of staff, and part-time member of staff for the design work that we do. So we now have about maybe 80 to 100 clients. So we run quite a busy garden maintenance operation, and then we have sort of on average between 10 and 20 garden design, about 10 to 15 garden design jobs a year as well, from complete rebuilds to reworking small areas of gardens to styling projects, and so yeah, it's quite diverse. So our pricing works on a sort of a labour, so we price our job in labour, and then we also operate a markup as well with goods and products and plants. We also charge a design fee for computer-aided design, and then for large projects or long projects, we take a percentage of the overall build cost. So during the winter, we really sort of lean on our design arm, because we kind of cease garden maintenance for a month anyway in January, and then this allows us to kind of catch up on garden design and then kind of our strategy for the following season, things like marketing and PR and all those things that we're so busy with the actual operation, and we're not big enough yet to have someone looking at that side of things all of the time, that actually January is a really good time to kind of lay out what we're going to be doing the following season. So I think the biggest challenge is pricing, actually, because as someone who came into this industry kind of sideways from another industry, I haven't got any formal qualifications in garden design. So for me, it was a real confidence thing for myself. Being able to price correctly is a big challenge because of my confidence in what I was doing. I would say only really recently have I had the confidence to sort of price correctly, and that kind of came off the sort of official stamp of approval from the Royal Horticultural Society when I was awarded a gold medal. So now I've really just started to like price, you know, for my worth, but I think that was really the challenge. My major strengths, I think probably my grit. I think the more that someone says that I can't do something, the more of a challenge that I'm faced with, the more hungry I am to succeed. So I think that, I'm not sure if that's a skill, but that's something that really drives me, and I think want to sort of push through and give my absolute best in everything that I do. I think having a ability to see in a 3D way and with design is something that I've always had since I was born. You know, I've always been sort of quite artistic, so I think that's probably just a natural skill. I think my advice to young people going into business is to really sort of, is to work hard basically, and really push through the first couple of years, because they're the hardest, because you are knocked back, you're constantly knocked back, you feel out of your depth. For quite a long time, I don't know if anyone really fully gets to grips with feeling confident about where they are in the world, but particularly in those first few years, it's about really sort of pushing through even when times are tough, and just remembering that even in failure, in small failures that you might have along the way, these failures exist to help you learn and progress. So in horticulture, there is definitely a trend of older people kind of being interested in plants and gardens and landscapes. It's often a sort of a second career for a lot of people. It was never really, being younger was never really an issue. I think actually it worked quite well to my advantage. And actually when I started competing at the flower shows, doing show gardens, I was always the youngest person. So actually to get a gold medal in your sort of early 30s is quite an unusual place to be. A lot of people, they're doing these flower shows when they're much older, like in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s even. So I think, being a young person in horticulture has its benefits, except that you are quite isolated. It's not a very glamorous kind of subject, so you don't have a lot of young people of your age around you. But that small percentage of young people that are into horticulture is lovely, because we have actually a real network of people now. I sort of know everyone in the RHS that are around my age in the Royal Horticultural Society. So actually that's a real benefit. just through doing flower shows, really. I didn't actually do any Royal Horticultural exams, and I always thought that might be problematic when it came to being involved in show gardens, but actually it didn't matter. Nobody cared.